We have brand new Fox News polling, and it finds the majority of voters under the age of 30 think a move towards socialism in the United States would be a good thing. Vice President JD Vance responding to that yesterday.
My warning to my fellow Republicans, Will, would be if we don't get this right, don't blame young people for being sympathetic to socialism. We've got to blame ourselves. Rebuilding our industrial base, rebuilding the heartland, making our streets safer, making it possible for young people to afford to buy a home. This is how you stop socialism. You don't stop socialism by throwing slogans at people about the free market. As much as I love the free market, you stop socialism by making people's lives better.
Fox News analyst Kat Timpf joins us now to react to this. Hey, Kat, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for getting up early.
I know, this is very early for me, guys.
Yes, but you love this topic. You wanted to come
I do.
on. Why is socialism resonating with young people?
So he's totally right. I love this topic because younger people feel locked out of the American dream, and it's not for no reason. The average home buyer in this country used to be about 29 years old. Now it's 40 years old. And socialists, again, if in case no one's ever seen me in their entire life, the opposite way that these problems are going to be solved, not the vision I'd like to see for the country, would make everything worse. However, they're the ones talking about it. They're the ones saying, we see you, we see these problems, and there are real problems. I know sometimes people get mad at me for talking about this, particularly boomers will get mad at me for talking about this, but it used to be that home prices were about 3 times the median income. Now they're about 5 times the median income. In some places, 6 to 10 times or even more. That's not a gap that can be closed by just not buying specialty coffee or not buying avocado toast. And that's what we hear a lot from conservatives, right? Is that young people are lazy. They don't want to work. They spend too much money on coffee, and that's why they don't own a home. And young people are sitting here like, that's not true. That's not my life experience. That's not what I'm seeing. That's not what I'm seeing with my siblings. That's not what I'm seeing with my friends. And so they're just going to listen to the people that are at least hearing them or acknowledging that there's a problem. And I think that conservatives, Republicans, free market people of all kinds need to start listening to younger people saying, we hear you. Numerically, statistically, there is a problem. It is harder for you than other generations, and provide alternate solutions.
Right, because they're saying, well, what we have now is not working for me, so let me try something else. Here is a man by the name of Jonathan Alpert. He's a psychotherapist, and he's talking about socialism and why so many young people are drawn to it. Listen.
The messaging is very seductive to these young people. They have an opportunity to blame the world, external forces on their problems and their shortcomings instead of looking from within themselves and looking at what they need to do to try to achieve success. And that's part of the seduction of socialism. People just love to blame others for their problems.
Is that true, you think? They're blaming everybody else?
So I agree to an extent, but things just also are harder, right? 45% of millennials don't own homes. And that's the generation above. That's my generation. And a lot of us are just structurally locked out in the generation, right? And the number one predictor of millennial home ownership isn't how hard you work. It's actually family wealth, parental wealth. So there are a lot of things that need to change, and being a hard worker and also noticing these problems are not mutually exclusive things. And I love the free market. I love freedom. I love capitalism. And that is why I care about this topic so much, is I don't want to see this take over. And it will if they're the only ones acknowledging these problems.
Meanwhile,
most of what we saw were crimes of poverty. People who were stealing things like toothpaste, people who were stealing things like, soap. And that means if you're stealing those things, you need them. And we are choosing to protect billion-dollar companies like CVS and Walgreens over the people who are struggling to get by. So I would say that the true crime is that there is such incredible wealth disparity in this city that there are people who can be thrown in jail simply for having a biological need. And so one of the things that I'm fighting for at the state level is to make sure we pass things like treatment, not jail, and that we hold the line on the incredible criminal justice reforms that we have done over the last 10 and 20 years that are constantly being threatened by right-wing media who are looking to fearmonger about people who are actually just in absolute dire straits.
Yeah, it's not their fault at all, huh? It's not their fault. It's the fault of MAGA and Republicans. By the way, the woman you were looking at, and I'm using that term loosely, the woman you were looking at isn't just some protester. That is a New York City Assembly person. That is a person in political office in New York advocating to let people steal if they need stuff. I mean, we are like way, way far away from being able to even speak to these people. Now, I'm going to ask you a simple question, a very simple question, and you keep hearing people, even like Kat Timpf, they keep repeating it. It's like a bumper sticker. And the thing they keep repeating is, we need to make things more affordable. Anybody have any idea how you make things more affordable? Do you just deem them to be cheaper? Hey, listen, I like to buy this phone. How much is it? Well, it probably retails for $1,000. I need to make it more affordable. What do you mean? Well, I can't afford it. I need to make it more affordable. I need to make this $100. Can't do it. Unless you're Tabitha or somebody, this is going to be $1,000. You walk into a restaurant, you need to make this meal more affordable. No, this is what we charge. You see, that's the thing that we keep hearing from people is make it more affordable. How exactly, unless you're a communist, do you expect that to happen? If you own a property and that property is $300,000, tell me how they're going to make it more affordable. I mean, this is the first hurdle. We have to get over the language, make it more affordable. That's BS. There is nothing you can do to make it more affordable unless you're a communist and you take it from people and say, now it is only going to cost $100,000. We're going to take it from you and not allow you to live in this house anymore because those people need it more affordable. That's how you can make it more affordable. Other than that, everybody sitting here watching right now, whether they're on a tablet, a computer, or their phone, living in some house or apartment or condo, how does anybody make you sell your property for cheaper? You see, this is where the problem is right now, and the messaging is wrong from people like Kat, and then even and so much for our vice president. There is no way. It's an impossibility. It is an economic pipe dream that you can, quote, make something more affordable. The market is what the market is. The market will always be determined by you and me. The only thing that makes your property more affordable is if nobody wants to buy it. And so what you're saying is we need to tamp down demand, which is counter to what the entire argument is. The argument is, I want to buy a house, I can't afford it. Make it more affordable. I don't know how to do that. Do you know how to do that? You want to be the first guinea pig to say, I understand I bought this house in 1990. I bought it for $150. They say it's worth in the market now about $450 now, but you know what? I'll take $140 for it. I'm going to make it more affordable. Anybody want to commit that kind of financial suicide? If you do, call me. Nope. Can't do it. So can we just take that off the table? Let's never talk again to a young person or a boomer and say, we need to make things more affordable, because it's impossible. If we can't get past that hurdle, there is no discussion. If you can't grasp and say, there is nothing a government can do to make this more affordable other than taking it from me, because the market determines what this thing is worth. If I went to the AT&T store and they said, hey, listen, we can sell you another one for like $90. Ooh, okay, they made it more affordable. They made it more affordable. Nobody else can. So let's go ahead and take that language off the table. And if you disagree, you're going to have to say in the chat, how do you show me how you make something more affordable? Now, the next thing we need to take off the table is the boomers did it. The boomers, they just sit here, they're selling all this property, and they're making all kinds of money, and they close the door behind them. Can we blame it on them and have them do something? Well, what the hell do you want me to do? I'm sorry you can't buy a house that you want to buy. It's not my fault. I didn't create it. There's property I'd like to buy that I can't afford. Should I be blaming that on the people who are trying to sell it for $2 and $3 million? No, it's nobody's fault. What we're having and what all of this is all about is a complete misunderstanding and lack of knowledge of how economics works. And too many people on the left are blaming it on everything but the economic knowledge, and too many people on the right are falling into the trap of trying to combat the conversation with their language. You're never going to win. They will always win if you talk in their language. Too affordable, it's too expensive. Housing prices are too high. Gas prices are too high. There is nobody out there explaining to people why prices are what they are. Nobody. Trump tries. Scott Bessent tries. The media, nope, they don't want to hear it. And if there are truly people feeling locked out, one of the questions I have, being in real estate and business, is what do you mean locked out? Who's telling you, like back in the day when certain people couldn't buy in certain neighborhoods, who's telling you you're locked out? I'm being facetious here because it's the terminology that we're using that's not reaching these people. I showed you a video yesterday of that black teacher who said these kids don't even know how to write a sentence. They don't know how to read. And I knew I was coming here today. I didn't know President Trump was going to be speaking, but I knew I was coming here today to follow up on that is, how do you teach people economic reality when they can't read and write? I can't teach you about supply and demand. I can't teach you about an amortization table. I can't teach you about FHA programs. I can't do any of that if you can't read or write. If you're feeling locked out, it's because you don't have the foundation that allows you to succeed. Because if you had the foundation to understand how to succeed, the answer has always been right in front of you. You know what that answer I'm getting at? Is you have to seek the knowledge. You can't hold a sign and scream and stamp your feet. You go to people. You talk to mortgage brokers. You talk to realtors, some. You talk to people who are successful. What are you doing? How do you do it? How can I get to the next, rung on the ladder? You have to humble yourself. You have to supplicate yourself. Wow, you got a nice car. I wish I could get a car like that. And I would tell you, stop frickin' wishing. I'm going to tell you a quick story. Completely true. I'm telling you right now, SV's got a story he can relate to as well. It's going to blow people away. Or rather, it should. Yesterday, I was almost out of gas because I wasn't paying attention. And I stopped at a gas station. And I went to fill it up, and I had to put a whole lot in it because I was like almost at E. So I'm standing there in the heat, letting it fill up. And next to me on the next row of pumps is a pretty decent looking late model F-150. And attached to it was a trailer, and the trailer had a riding mower, and it had a weed whacker and some tools and stuff like that. And it was a young black man got out of the truck and started filling his gas tank. And he couldn't have been more than 26, 27. On the other side of the pump where he was is a young college-age kid got out, and they started talking different things and chicks and whatever. And he goes, "What do you do?" And the guy's like, I've got my own lawn business. And the kid says to him, "Is there money in that?" And he says to him, "I make over $120 grand a year cutting lawns. I have 45 clients. I am done by 11 o'clock every single day. And I just come here, fill up my gas, and plan what I'm going to be doing tomorrow. And the kid just was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. And he goes, why you ask? And the kid said, my parents are giving me a hard time about going to college. And the idea behind going to college is go to college, get a decent job, and graduate, and then do whatever you need to do. But people aren't graduating and getting jobs. And so he said, what did you have to do to get to this position? And the kid told him. They went back and forth, and they were talking. And he goes, why would you want to go to college? He goes, the only reason my friends go to college at this point is because they want to party. And I live at the beach. If I want to party, there's always a party to go to. And I called Robin right there in the car, and like, this kid's getting schooled. And eventually they exchanged phone numbers and everything else. But he found out that and here's the punchline. The guy who started a lawn business was in pre-law in college. And he's like, I'm going to be here for 3 more years, and then I got to go to law school, and I got to hope to get a job at some law firm. And right now, I could write my own ticket because nobody here in Boca cuts their own lawn. Nobody here in Boca cleans their own pools. You drive around here in the morning. If you just moved here and you never did know anything, just wait till one morning at about 7 o'clock, drive around, and you're going to find all the vendors you need on one street. There's going to be the pool guy. There's going to be the lawn guy. There's going to be somebody walking dogs. All the vendors. Whenever you go to a gated community, there's always a line to get in. Not because it's residents, because it's all these people providing services for the people who live there. So it's not about making something more affordable. It's not at all about making something more affordable. It's making something more viable. And these kids aren't learning this. Matter of fact, there's older people who aren't learning this. Every single mountain that you look at is just an impediment to get to the top. Some of us, you might have to crawl. You may have to do a crab crawl. But I think we're fighting a losing battle if we keep telling these kids, just work harder. No, that's not the prescription. Here's what you need to do. And I wish President Trump would bring Mike Rowe out. And Mike Rowe could come out and say, here, we're going to show you not how to make things more affordable. We're going to show you how to afford more things. Just a quick difference. Then you'll weed out the lazy ones. I'm not calling anybody lazy until they prove themselves to be lazy. Let me show you what you can do so that you can buy that house. It will never be more affordable. There's nobody who's got that magic wand. But the other side of the coin is I could make it so that you can buy these things. And as I listened to Kat Timpf, let's see, what else did she say on that? As she was talking, she said, most of the people who buy property is based on parents' wealth. Seriously? That's not true either. They're just spewing stuff. And she feels for these kids, but she's not understanding that that's not the answer. The answer is training. The answer is knowledge. Knowledge equals currency. And I feel at this point, these kids are throwing their hands up, and the socialists are coming in. And this is where the knowledge also works as well, is telling these kids, what do you think they're going to do to you? They're not going to make things more affordable. They're going to make you eat worms. They don't want you to be affordable, things more affordable. They want to give you stuff free. The stuff they give you free is not going to be the stuff you want. It's worse. And then the last part is we need to point out the propaganda as soon as we see it. You know what the Republicans are losing right now? The Republicans and MAGA, we're losing the propaganda war. That's what tomorrow is about, how to fight back. We have a whole different level of guerrilla warfare that we've got to get into, because everything right now is completely propaganda. These kids live like this, and people know it. Let me show you in part here exactly what I'm talking about.
This is a featured presentation from the Fanfare Newsroom. The European mind cannot comprehend how expensive it is to live in America, especially Texas. I was talking to my friends from Sweden and they were like, what do you mean people work 2 to 3 jobs just to afford rent? Don't forget car insurance, your car payment, and $5 a gallon for gas because you have to drive everywhere. Oh, and the cherry on top is that health insurance is ridiculously expensive and you still have to pay a small fortune if you get sick or injured. Hey, but I thought MAGA and Trump were supposed to make everything super affordable. Dude, no, everything is expensive and about a third of Texas, about 5 million people, are making less than $20 an hour. It used to be affordable, but not anymore. We can't afford to give people a better quality of life, like health insurance or
It used to be affordable, but not anymore. When? When did it change? Now, you're watching here a series of influencers. And you see it, it's a blondie and black woman and another white woman and a guy, and they're all been given the exact same script. They're telling people who do this all day, oh, it really sucks. Oh, it's all propaganda. And people listening to it don't realize these people are getting paid to say this. They found a way to make things more affordable for them. They're just lying to you. And so this is what I'm talking about. Whoever put this together, I guess it says in meme, they put all these together. They listened to them. They found out they were exact same script. And these people are being completely gaslit. Completely.
higher wages. You know what we do have money for, though? Another pointless war that nobody except Republicans and Trump wanted.
I was explaining to my friend that rent in Atlanta is insane. And he literally said, I thought Georgia was cheap. I actually laughed because I didn't know what to say. People assume that if you work hard and even pick up a second job, you'll be fine. But that is not the reality for a lot of people anymore. Meanwhile, MAGA Republicans keep on telling us the economy is great, but grocery...
MAGA Republicans are telling it. They're reading a script. They're very good at it. But that's why they're influencers. They are influencing people to listen to what they're saying. I told you yesterday how nobody off of TikTok or YouTube is actually talking about affordability. But right now, Republicans are getting sucked into this messaging instead of talking like Trump talks. Hey, this is what we're doing good. Here's this. Here's this. And it seems like he's the only one saying it. And so these kids can keep doing this crazy propaganda.
Gas and housing keep getting more expensive.
I was explaining to my friend from Italy how I literally cannot afford my rent anymore. And she was like, oh, but you live in Ohio, right? Like, isn't Ohio supposed to be pretty cheap? Like, it's not like...
By the way, I don't know how they've taught these kids to talk like this really fast. So is that a thing on TikTok? I don't know, but you got to talk really fast so people can't really hear what you're saying. They all speed talk, and that's not a quickened video. They all talk like that because they're trying to not let the people spend time thinking.
New York or California. And I was like, yeah. Exactly. It used to be cheap. It used to be affordable. And now the prices for everything is so jacked up and it's not proportional to how the state is. And my friend...
You know, it used to be more affordable. Used to be when? When you were in diapers? See, they're missing it. It's completely... You look like you're 19, 18, 15. What do you mean it was more affordable? It used to be. Tell me what you used to buy a couple of years ago. Some Skittles? What the hell are these people talking about?
I was like, don't you have a second job? And I was like, yes, I do. She was like, oh my God, I thought that was for like extra like saving money or something. She was baffled that I actually have to have 2 jobs and I still can barely pay my rent and afford to live in Cleveland, like Cleveland. And I was like, yeah, it's because of these MAGA Republicans that just support policies that jack up the prices for everyone and for the working class. And they do not actually care about the working class. And it's just so frustrating.
I was just talking with one of my friends here in North Carolina, and we both said the same thing. We both said we feel like that every single bill we get just keeps getting higher, whether that's groceries, gas, home insurance, like it all adds up, and we both think it has to do with the...
Home insurance? So are you telling the idiots listening to you that you have a home that you own? Wait a minute, I thought that was impossible. I thought you can't afford a home. You see? You see what they're doing? You understand the gaslighting?
MAGA Republicans and lawmakers. And this is exactly why I'm going to be doing my homework this year before I vote. Because I want to know, and you should too, where every candidate stands on this affordability crisis in North Carolina right now, how they're going to solve it and make everyday life better for all of them.
I was talking to my...
And I got a couple more for you, but you can hear the exact same words being put out there. This is just 8. There are literally hundreds of them. The kids that you see doing this all day, they can't get away from it. Everybody is telling them, the people they listen to, we can't afford anything, and it's MAGA's fault.
From Europe about the cost of living in Ohio and just how everything has gotten so unaffordable. And he was literally shocked. He was like, but Ohio's a cheap state, I thought.
Genuinely just got off the phone with one of my European friends, and he was in complete disbelief when I told him the prices here in New York, because I genuinely can't believe them either.
My cousin from Scotland just got in touch with me, and now the price of living has gone up like crazy. And he was all like, but you live in Ohio. Like, you don't really have to worry about it, right? Like, that's pretty cheap.
I'm in New York, and I was talking to my friend in France the other day, and
you hear it? Exact same words over and over and over. It's mind control. Your friend's family, your grandkids are being completely bamboozled, hoodwinked, and gaslit with all of this MK Ultra propaganda. So there's no way, there's no way we should be talking to them in the same vernacular that they're speaking to each other. That's what we have to overcome. And my fear is what JD Vance said, what Kat Timpf said on Fox News, is you're trying to fight that. You are not going to beat that. It's more powerful. You are completely outmanned. You're outgunned. This is what they're hearing. We need to tell them otherwise.
I was telling her, I literally can't afford my rent.
I was like, yeah, it used to be, but to be honest, there's no such thing as a cheap state anymore. He says, but you have a second job. Isn't that for like fun stuff, for saving and stuff? Like, just use that for now. I was like, you think my second job is for fun? It's for survival. Have you seen the cost of gas after the MAGA Republicans started a war in the Middle East? Have you seen the cost of...
We can't win this. Not in the way of a conventional warfare. We have to understand we need to speak to them educationally, if they can even be reached. Unfortunately, all these kids have boats.
Groceries in Ohio after the MAGA Republicans did all these tariffs?
1 year ago, I was looking at gas prices being $2, $3 at most. Right now, I'm lucky to find $4 a gallon. That is insane. I was telling my European friend that I'm working 2 jobs to barely cover my living expenses, and he was shocked, thinking that my second job was just for me to put extra money into my savings. I can't afford living in New York because these MAGA Republicans thought it was a good idea to go to war instead of actually lowering prices how they said they would.
See, now, I know what some of you are saying because I've heard it before. I'm not looking at the chat, but I can tell you what you're saying. Like, Barry, make it stop. Barry, we get it. Make it stop. Well, that tells me you're not understanding, because the kids hearing this stuff can't make it stop. The kids who are being inundated by this messaging, there's no off switch. It is one after the other in their time feed, all their friends at school. Everybody is saying the same thing, and we're not countering it. Not one of these kids has said, this is what I do for my second job. This is what I make. This is my educational background. None of that. Doesn't matter. I can't afford it. So everything's so fast. Oh, yeah, your second job, it's MAGA fault. It's MAGA fault. And so when you're saying, I don't want to hear anymore, that's part of the problem. Because we're taking for granted that the president and his administration are going to be able to do anything when it's too big. When he ran for president, he said we got to make it too big to rig. We need to make it too big for these kids to understand what they're going through, because they're getting bombarded with this crap.
Buddy, please help me, because this is genuinely intolerable.
It used to be. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, I have 2 jobs and I can barely afford it. And he's all like, with 2 jobs, you cannot afford to live there. I thought you had a second job just to have like extra income. No. And he was so in shock and absolutely horrified. And he's all like, well, isn't that what MAGA like promised you guys? Yep, sure did. But they decided to prioritize a war in the Middle East that we didn't need instead.
And she was like, don't you have 3 jobs? And I was like, yes, but 3 jobs still doesn't feel like it's enough. Like, I'm still struggling. And she's like, you're still struggling with 3 jobs? You work all the time. I thought 3 jobs would be enough. And I also thought the MAGA Republicans said everything would be cheaper. But we must be living in a different New York, because I am definitely not seeing that.
That's the enemy. That's what we have to combat. And just saying you got it wrong is not going to make it. It's telling people we're going to have task force and we're going to have to sit around and figure out how to make things more affordable. That ain't the answer. These kids, they're already checked out, many of them. We got to try to save the ones we can. And so listen to what JD Vance says here.
There is obviously, and I think it's beyond comedically, a movement in the United States to embrace socialism. We've seen, for example, a joke of a candidate in Wisconsin still get 300,000 votes, people voting for democratic socialism. But I think the real question, and I think it's a question for you, it's a question for Republicans at large, is this. When a young person looks at their life and they say, you know, I did what America asked me to do. I went to college, I got a job, and I don't think I can afford the life that my parents could afford. Now, whether or not that's statistically accurate, it is a real feeling and a growing feeling. So what is your answer to that young person?
All right. So before he answers the question, I'll tell you what my answer is. When someone says, I went to college, I did all the right things, I did everything you guys said, my parents said to do, and I still can't afford what? Because I know what it was like when I got out of college. I know many of my friends, not many of them went, you know what, I just got my degree, let me go ahead and buy a house. How about maybe we start teaching these kids about the progress, the process. What do you need to do next? Excuse me. In addition, Bobby, can I talk to you? What did you graduate in? What degree did you get? What job did it prepare you for? And when you start hearing those answers, because many of us already know the answers because we heard the guy yesterday saying they can't read or write. What is it, Johnny, that you can even do? The cold, hard question and conversation needs to talk to them about value. You've got a degree in X, and the job market for that degree is Y. And because you got a degree and spent 4 years and got a whole bunch of student loans so you can party and screw around for 4 years, now you've got a piece of paper you're hanging on a wall at home, but you can't do anything with it. Now I got to ask you a question. Bobby, Johnny, who told you to get that degree? And that answer to that question, why didn't you change it? Did you talk to a guidance counselor? Did you go in and talk to a professor and say, what am I going to do when I graduate? We need to turn it back around. It's not MAGA. You got sold a bill of goods. That's the problem right now. You don't have any skills. You don't know how to do anything. Now, although you're stuck, although it sucks, what I'd like to do is show you how you can change it. You know, you're only 22, 23, just got out of college. I know you don't want to make a career making coffee. Let me show you an apprentice program that you could get into so that by the time you're 26 and 27, you can buy a house. See the difference in that? It's just saying, you were stupid. You got basket weaving degree. And that I can do with that. But now, are you interested in how, right now, let me show you how you can get on a different track? And Will Cain just asked Vice President Vance this question, and I don't like the answer at all.
You know, our answer, Will, and this is the exact right question to ask, because our response to socialism, which is a dangerous and destructive ideology, it's been tried in the past and failed, our response to that can't be just to ignore the economic concerns that I think are feeding this rising interest in socialism. And I guess I would say to that young person that you as an American citizen deserve to have a good life in this country, and you deserve to have a government that is making it easier for you to start a family, for you to...
No, that's not it at all. It's never been that. JD, you blew it by saying that. You should have watched a JFK address. Remember what JFK said? It's not what your country can do for you. It's what you can do for your country. You don't deserve, I almost swore, people don't like me swearing. You don't deserve anything. Nobody has promised you anything. You have to take the initiative. And so if this is where we're heading and we're saying you deserve a better life, we're done. We are in big trouble if the message the vice president is telling these kids that are looking at socialism that you deserve a better life. We're in big effing trouble. That message right there could come back to haunt us in November. See, even the vice president said we deserve better. Nobody deserves anything. Nobody. No, we are not promised tomorrow in any way, shape, or form. We all have to wake up every single day and go for it. You know, we're right in the middle of NFL preseason camps, and some of the preseason games are happening right now. Nobody deserves to be on that field. Every single one of those players, except for the ones who are already signed with big contracts, they got to prove it every single day. Next week, they'll start cutting. You weren't good enough. You didn't deserve to play here. You have to earn it. And I don't mean earn it from an esoteric perspective. I mean, get out there, sweat, do the drills, everything you possibly can do to be a better wage earner, career path. You don't deserve anything. You don't deserve to buy a home. You don't deserve to have a wife. You don't deserve to have kids. You don't deserve anything. And so as soon as I heard that, I went, oh no, oh boy, I haven't been concerned about the midterms until I heard that. That's when I really said, we got a problem. Because you just played into their hand. SV and I both play poker, man. You asked, you just made a bad move. I'm going to eat you up now. Now I'm going to keep telling people, hey, the vice president said I deserve this. No, none of us deserves anything.
Afford to get a good education, for you to have a good job, for you to afford a home. And what I would also say is that whilst these things sometimes take a little bit of time, we are already seeing the positive results come from the president's economic policies.
Now you're talking. Now, what are those results? See, right there, if you would come back and and Will Kane said, hey, these kids are worried about socialism, what should they do? You should have skipped the whole beginning of that statement and said, we are already seeing positive results. Will would have come back, what are we seeing? Well, we're seeing this. We're seeing this. We're seeing this. How is that going to help younger people? We are in a different kind of war right now, and this is why the socialists are gaining ground, is because we don't have a unified response.
We're seeing trillions of dollars of new investment into this country, which means good middle-class jobs for young people.
How? They don't know, JD. Will is a professional. He's on television. He's making money. Most of the people watching are professionals or people who have careers. How does a company, how does IBM opening up a new thing help me? You got to break it down. Remember, we're in the TikTok age. Talk real fast. How you doing? No, break it down for them. Nobody's telling them except, the Mondamis. Everything's free. We'll give you free stuff. Free. It's going to be free. They don't understand the economics behind things not being free.
Income people all across our country. We're seeing housing prices finally stabilize. They doubled during the Biden administration. They have finally kind of flatlined during the first year and a half of the Trump administration. We also want to get interest rates down, of course, so that young people can afford a home.
JD, can you tell them what the interest rates are right now for a first-time home buyer? You see, tangible information, not esoteric pie in the sky. Hey, Will, did you know right now that a young person can get 3.5% down mortgage? They can have that down payment gifted to them. They don't need to even come up with the money all by themselves. And they can get a home up to X dollars, depending on your area, and Besides that, the interest rate is about 5.5% to 6.5%. Tangible. Actually speaking to them. Now we're going to try it. No. What can I do today? If somebody came and knocked on that door right there in Barrie, I need to know what I can do. Okay, let's sit down. Let me lay it out for you. Here's where you go. Here's how you do it. Here's what you need to do. And then if you have any problems, we're here to help. I'm ready to help younger people understand they're not screwed. They just don't understand what to do, and nobody's telling them. I wonder what their parents are saying. And I just didn't like this.
We want people to be able to afford the good things about this wonderful country that we all live in. And my warning to my fellow Republicans, Will, would be if we don't get this right, don't blame young people for being sympathetic to socialism. We've got to blame ourselves. And I think.
No. Well, kinda. We all, not just our politicians, it's too big of a hurdle. They are being blasted with anti-MAGA, anti-Republican, anti-American messaging over and over and over. It's everywhere you look. You turn on a television show. Last night I turned on a show and Robin was like, is everybody in this show gay? I'm like, I don't know. One of my favorite shows watching when I turn on a television is a show called Lioness. I think it's really cool. It shows like special ops and all kinds of things. And in the first scene of this season, the two chicks end up in the bathtub together. I'm like, what in the hell does this have to do with special ops? Why did you throw that in there? The show is written well. It's got enough strong storylines about them going to the Ukraine and capturing a guy and shooting drones. I'm like, this is it. Why are these chicks sleeping with each other? They're being inundated. And Lioness is an older show. They probably wouldn't even watch that. I can't even imagine the stuff that they tune into. And so the burden, if we want to save this and help these younger people, is to teach them, not to berate them. We can berate the people who are lying to them, but these kids need information.
What is so unique and refreshing about Donald Trump's economic policies is that it's not the same old economic, ideas that you would have heard 30, 40 years ago. He's talking about rebuilding our industrial base, rebuilding the heartland, making our streets safer, making it possible for young people to afford to buy a home.
How? Like I said, I love JD Vance. I hope either he or Rubio is the next president. I would vote for him. Still would vote for him. But I'd like to shake him by the neck here and say, you're smarter than this, man. And I know you're smarter than this because I followed you all the way back through Hillbilly Elegy. And I saw what you went through and how you overcame. What did you do? Let's bring it in here. Hey, JD, how did you get to where you are right now? I mean, you were from, Podunk area. You didn't have any money. Mom was a drug addict. How did you get there? Well, I did this, and then I went to school, and then I joined the Marines. Okay, hold on. Now you're giving somebody a life track. They didn't read the book. They didn't watch the movie. They're seeing you on TV as a vice president. You're like, you deserve it. Did you deserve it? When your mom, we all saw the movie, when your mom was in there doing drugs and strung out, and you were just a young boy, did you deserve to get where you are now? Or did you do stuff to make it happen? And I think that just carries so much more weight.
This is how you stop socialism. You don't stop socialism by throwing slogans at people about the free market. As much as I love the free market, you stop socialism by making people's lives better. And that's what we're trying to do every single day.
All right. That answer, I believe, is worthy of a much longer conversation. Maybe one.
Exactly. That answer, in a very nice way that Will Kane said to him, was, that ain't the answer, bro. We got to have a much larger conversation, which I hope is next week. You see, he was being nice, and he threw JD Vance a bone. He's like, we got to talk more about this. You didn't really answer anything. These kids need us. These kids need us. Now, I just wanted to close because the last 10 seconds here, it underscores what I've been saying for the last couple of months about what's about to happen or is happening.
You and I can have in Austin as the University of Texas plays Ohio State. I won't make you commit on television, but I hope to see you September 12th in Texas.
Football. And they both went into big, beaming smiles. Will's from Texas, obviously JD Vance from Ohio State. But they went, after all that, bam, right back to football. Been saying it. I know people, didn't want to hear it the other day, or last couple of months, but that is it. That's the messaging. We got to get in and show these young people and fight their MK Ultra attack that they're under right now. Otherwise, there's no hope. Not just for them, the socialists could end up winning. They're telling them, you do deserve it. It's those people, those boomers over there have screwed you so badly. And then you get the reinforcement by people like, well, I don't want to mention the names, but you know who they are. Pollsters, other podcasters. Trump sucks. You think the gold age is here? It's not here. They're pissing on your head. Capital gains doesn't work for you. How many of these kids even know what the hell capital gains is? We have our work cut out for us, and we only got this much time. We got this much time to do it. So I hope you're ready for it. I really do.